inexplicable, the mildly disturbing and the seriously terrifying. You're watching Discovery Civilization with another spine-chilling encounter with the unknown. Mysterious visions, floating objects, orbs of light. Everyone knows a ghost story or two. The spirits of the afterworld reveal themselves in many forms, some with surprising regularity.
So I stop in this place and I look out in the light and there's a woman standing there with a long dress.
I've seen it several times. As he marches across the stage from stage right to stage left. Every time it's the same.
So I walked inside and I heard the music, and right when I opened up the doors, everything just came to a halt.
Sometimes the rocking chair in that room gently rocks back and forth, as if Mrs. Whaley was comforting her ailing son.
Across America, these frequent visitors to the land of the living attract a different kind of tourist, the spirit seeker. Enter the world of the spirits in America's most haunted places. At the southernmost tip of Florida, the tropical island of Key West seems an unlikely haunt for spirits. South from Miami along the overseas highway, Key West lures visitors eager to relax and get away from it all. The Mangrove Isle is so hauntingly magical that people are reluctant to leave, even after death.
A lot of people, the first time they come to Key West, they're immediately taken by the island, and they're at a loss to explain why. But everybody talks about the spirit of the island. They can't wait to get away from their home and come here again. And I think the spirits have a lot to do with that. Some people say Key West is such a haunted island because even when the residents die, they just can't bear to take themselves away from here.
The ghosts of Key West date back to the 16th century, when Spanish explorers first landed on the island. They discovered beaches littered with human bones, the remains of a bloody battle fought earlier between the Seminole and the Calusa Indians. The Spanish named the island Cayo Hueso, Bone Island.
Cayo turned to Key, Hueso to West, and a lot of people think those Indian spirits are still alive and well in the Island of Bones.
But Indian spirits aren't the only ghosts in town. Key West is said to be so haunted, many brave souls head out each night in search of spooks.
Okay, folks, my name's Matty. This is the next stop on the ghost tour.
One of the town's most active ghosts is found in a converted historic mansion, now the Hard Rock Cafe.
There's a lot of people who are skeptical about the existence of ghosts, and it's interesting because a lot of people who start working at the Hard Rock Cafe, they'll come in as non-believers. They'll hear the ghost story and say, there's no such thing. But then after they've worked here for a few weeks, they're believers.
According to Sloan, the man sending chills down the spines of Hard Rock employees is Robert Curry, son of William Curry, Florida's first millionaire. The three-story mansion was a wedding present from William to young Robert and his bride. After William died, Robert inherited the family fortune.
But things weren't going so well for Robert. His health wasn't all that great. People described him as a sickly man. He is said to suffer from asthma. And in addition to that, he had a dwindling fortune. He didn't do as well with his money as his father had done. The combination of the two made it a little bit too much for Robert to handle.
In the summer of 1917, Robert Curry hanged himself in the upstairs bathroom. Ever since, mysterious events have been reported in the mansion.
There's a lot of haunted activity reported in the second floor bathroom. It's in the same location where the bathroom was when Robert Curry hung himself.
Shadowy apparitions, unexplained noises, objects moving by themselves. Assistant manager Robert Bosch knows all about it. He's worked at the Hard Rock for 5 years, and there's no doubt left in his mind.
Since I started here in 1998, the ghost, or Mr. Curry, as I like to call him, has played numerous tricks on me. Why, I don't know.
Some of the tricks seem relatively harmless.
Filing cabinets opening and shutting by themselves, pretty much like this.
Others are more disturbing. Chairs spinning round and round. Footsteps heard when no one's there. a photocopy machine turning itself on and spewing out paper.
One of the actual incidents that happened up here was when I was at my desk over here, and we had some papers on this desk over here, and it started moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and all of a sudden the paper just kind of went up and like flew all over the place. And again, it's one of these times that I just try to compose myself and then bolted.
That's not the only time Robert was ready to bolt from the mansion.
Up here in this very window, I've noticed a silhouette pass back and forth on a number of occasions, always at night. It just kind of, flows back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Steph Ekman used to work in the restaurant's office. He had a few ghostly encounters of his own.
Late one Sunday night, I'm coming up to drop it off. But it was like a strange feeling. Just kind of like a, I don't know, weird sense or whatever. The hair on my arm is starting to stand up and everything. So I continue walking up, and I kind of look over to the side, and it was kind of strange. Drop this off, come back, and I see a shadow of a figure turning this way, running into the GM's office. Ran back to the ground. It's like her arm here all stuck up and everything, just a very strange feeling.
Steph has a photo taken at the restaurant that he thinks could be the Hard Rock's resident ghost.
I really don't know what is in this picture. It's very weird. A lot of people say it could be cigarette smoke, but I wasn't smoking when we took the picture.
Robert Curry's spirit haunts the entire mansion, including the restaurant's dining room.
This customer comes running out of the Beavis room, is what they call it, and the server said, "What's the matter?" And he says, "Why didn't you tell me this place was haunted?" The guy was white as a ghost, and she's like, "Well, what are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, I just saw the one walk through the wall." And that was all we got from him. He had to leave right away. It was the weirdest thing.
Though many spirits reportedly haunt Key West, the ghost of Robert Curry is said to be the most active. Key West has been described as heaven on earth. Perhaps that's why so many spirits find it hard to leave. Hawaii, a tropical paradise, scattered like a string of emeralds floating in the Pacific. Born millions of years ago from volcanoes erupting out of the ocean, the island's fires are still very much alive. This lush oasis entices millions who travel in search of aloha, the indescribable spirit that makes Hawaii so irresistible. The first port of call for many is the island Oahu, whose south coast is graced by Waikiki Beach. Once a small fishing village and home of Polynesian chieftains, Waikiki is now celebrated for its surfing, sunbathing, and Honolulu's luxury resorts. The Hilton Hotel is the setting for one of Hawaii's most intriguing ghost stories, the mysterious woman in red.
So I stop in this place and I look out in the night, and there's a woman standing there with a long dress. She was facing the ocean, and it was a sunset too.
Fred Ing worked for the Hilton for 45 years and was director of special projects.
This property is built wide open. It doesn't enclose you up, You get outdoor feeling all the way. And the feeling that you're in a Hawaiian village and not in a hotel. And that makes it nice.
The Hawaiian Village gained international fame in the 1950s, attracting movie stars and entertainers. In their wake came the red-hot Elvis Presley. He stayed at Waikiki in 1961 to film Blue Hawaii.
Oh, he raised holy hell here. Everybody's climbing all over the building trying to get to his room. And he had heavy security, so none of us could get up there.
Elvis and his film crew caused such a stir, the bartender invented a drink in his honor.
During the early 60s, there's a lot of tropical drinks that was invented. And one of our bartenders, Harry Yee, he invented the Blue Hawaii. It's a blue mixture of some sort of rum drink and very refreshing.
The legend of Elvis lives on, but his ghost has yet to make an appearance. Instead, it's Madame Pele, the goddess of the Hawaiian volcano, who haunts the luxury towers.
She used to appear in a red muumuu and used to be in the hallway in the village tower.
In 1957, David Soares worked for 3 months on the housekeeping staff at the hotel. Even back then, many of the employees were scared of part of the hotel they believed to be haunted.
Everyone in the housekeeping section was too afraid to go up that hallway to render service to the respective apartments or either the rooms to the tourists. And I was the first one to break that barrier.
The goddess of Hawaii's volcanoes is usually associated with the Big Island and its active eruptions. So what was Madame Pele doing on Oahu?
One of the most important Hawaiian akua, or gods, is Pele, who in many ways manifests herself on each island and throughout the Hawaiian Islands. The reason for this is that when Pele came to Hawaii, she visited each island. In today's manifestations of Pele, it's very interesting to me that she's actually been seen on each island. But that would be very natural because she traveled between each of the islands as a goddess.
Why the ancient goddess Pele is visiting a modern hotel remains a mystery. David Soares clearly remembers how the housekeeping staff described her.
She used to appear in a red muumuu and with a long hair, and she used to walk gracefully.
The mysterious Pele is said to take on many forms. She may appear as a young woman or old, as a hitchhiker, or a stranger at the door.
She takes all these different forms of someone who seems to be always testing us, to test us for our aloha, for our generosity.
Irene Kiaupuni feels lucky to have seen Pele. As a teenager, she worked at the Hawaiian Village in the 1930s. By day, she was in the flower shop. By night, she was a hula dancer at the luaus around the imu. The imu is the fire pit where a whole pig is buried, then covered with banana leaves and baked under a pile of porous burning rocks. Irene remembers seeing the image of the spirit she's certain was Pele.
She comes out with this white cloth and stuff like that. And she just comes and she comes on the property and she goes for looking for the luau where they make the pig. And she dances around that place. And then she comes up and then she goes right back. But she only let us see it because when she's on the ground, you only can see her gray hair covering her whole body.
Pele isn't the only spirit Irene and her friends saw around the imu. She also believes they saw Pele's helpers, little men, or minahuni, dancing among the rocks.
So I was telling Makumuhula, "What are you watching?" And he said, "Look, look." I said, "What do you mean, look? I don't see nothing." So we all keep looking. Finally, we see some like a beam or something going from one rock to another rock. That's all we see. And he says, "That's the Menehune." I said, "You kidding?" He said, "No, that's Pele's helper when she need help."
For decades, Irene has kept her ghostly visions a secret.
I never did tell this to nobody but my daughter. Never. And I never mentioned it until now. And now when I do that, I get all chicken skin. It's spooky.
Even today, there are reports of a mysterious woman appearing unexpectedly. Room attendant Mario Carrillo had an experience he'll never forget.
Hello, guest room dining.
He was taking a welcome basket to a room in the Ocean Tower, the same tower where there had already been sightings.
I knocked the door and nobody answered it, so I just enter it and I stop in this place. And then when I look out from the lanai, somebody is standing there.
The woman was in a long dress. He spoke to her, but she didn't respond.
She was standing there by the lanai, facing the ocean. But while I'm setting up the arrival amenity, I keep on talking to her, but I didn't have any answer.
The strange woman's silence was unnerving.
I was really scared though because I have chicken skin already on my body.
Mario looked around for her luggage, but there wasn't any.
I told to myself that, oh, something strange in this room. So that's why I went down and talked to the cashier and check it if this room is occupied already.
When he checked the guest register, he found the room was unoccupied. No guest was registered. No one had access. The mysterious woman in red, visions of Pele, Minahuni, and the Emu fire. These ghost stories are integrated into the Polynesian culture, whose traditions are preserved at the Hilton Hawaiian Village. It's a far cry from the peace and tranquility of Hawaii to America's notorious Wild West. Gamblers, gunslingers, ladies of the night. In 1881, Tombstone, Arizona had them all. It was the wildest town in the West. The streets were lined with honky-tonks, saloons and houses of ill repute, the most famous being Birdcage Opera House Saloon. Brimming with the best booze, the loveliest ladies, and the highest stakes poker game in town, it was the scene of many fatal gunfights. Today, it's a popular tourist destination. William Hunley is a third-generation owner of the Birdcage. According to William, if you're looking for a great haunt with plenty of active ghosts, this is the place to come.
I have no accounting of why there's so much paranormal activity in that building. It's just there. It's there, and it's known all over the country. And it happens almost daily. We sometimes overlook it because it happens so often. You get used to it.
Tombstone was a boom town, riding the wave of prolific silver mines in the surrounding desert. There were 3,000 prostitutes, a red light district spanning 16 streets, and 106 saloons. In 1882, the New York Times described the Birdcage as the roughest, wildest honky-tonk between Basin Street and the Barbary Coast.
The Birdcage was a unique operation. It was a combination gambling, casino, dance hall, theater, variety theater, brothel, and saloon. It operated during the peak of Tombstone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There was nothing else in the West like it.
Today, the Birdcage is a museum filled with artifacts from Tombstone's infamous past. The original bar, the stage, the poker room, and the velvet-draped cribs that surround the old theatre all remain in place. This was where the ladies of the night, or soiled doves as they were called, entertained some of the toughest men in the West. Famous gunslingers like Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp.
It was the finest, fanciest honky-tonk in the West. They didn't serve watered-down whiskey or champagne. They served only the best. It was a very famous place, and everybody that was who's who went there.
The lethal combination of gambling and booze led to daily shootouts in Tombstone. Leroy Colomy is a historian for the Birdcage.
Well, Tombstone in its heyday was a very violent place. They had what they called a cowboy for breakfast every day, meaning that somebody got killed every day of the year here in Tombstone.
The Birdcage was no exception. There were 16 documented gunfights in 9 years. 26 people were killed, and 140 bullet holes pierced the building. With so many deaths, it's no wonder people claim the place is filled up with ghosts.
Well, it's a phenomenal place. History was made there. There's a lot of people died there, so there's a lot of spirits there in the Birdcage Theater.
The poker parlor downstairs is the most haunted room in the house. One of the longest poker games in history was played out here. It was around-the-clock gambling at $1,000 a seat.
The game lasted 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days. It never stopped, never ceased for a moment. Till its final night, over $10 million exchanged hands in the game. The house took over $1 million profit.
Money wasn't the only thing that changed hands in the poker room. Margarita, a birdcage dancehall floozy, was flirting with the boyfriend of Gold Dollar, another saloon belle. Gold Dollar had warned Margarita to stay away from her man, or she'd cut her heart out.
And Gold Dollar witnessed Margarita sitting down in her boyfriend's lap. And angered, she pulled a stiletto and stabbed her right in the chest.
No one knows for sure if Margarita's spirit haunts the birdcage, but there's no shortage of mysterious sightings, sounds and smells.
There's no explanation for it.
Cheryl Lever is used to bizarre experiences, like the time the antique polyphone began to play all by itself, startling Cheryl and a visitor.
You've got to crank a handle on it. You have to drop a silver dollar into it. It hits a weight mechanism and it starts the music playing. So there's no way it could have started by itself. And this gentleman had said that he did not believe in ghosts. And I said, well, you've just had your first experience.
At the birdcage, everybody has a story. Many have heard honky-tonk music and singing in seemingly empty rooms.
I've had the opportunity to go in there at night with the lights out and sit down and just wait and listen. And I've heard music, I've heard the poker chips, glasses clinking.
You hear the noises all night long. You'll wake up and you'll hear singing, you'll hear music playing, you'll hear the orchestra, you'll hear the roar of the crowd.
Then there are the sightings, like the preoccupied stagehand, who many say they've seen walking across the stage.
I've seen it several times. He's like, has an underwear shirt with no collar, a pair of suspenders, and he has a clipboard with a stage deckhand's solenoid hood. And he's intently looking at that clipboard as he marches across the stage from stage right to stage left. Every time it's the same.
Often, people describe strange sensations.
I actually have felt the sensation of seeing that building look like it's breathing. It's totally alive. I really feel this in my heart. That building really is alive. It breathes.
And it reeks of old perfume and smoke.
All of a sudden, you'll be smelling lilac water, then the whole place will fill up with cigar smoke. That's a very common thing. And then sometimes you get some terrible odors. It's almost like BO. I mean, terrible odor, and just lasts a second.
Another sign of ghosts, sudden temperature changes.
I could be walking through the building and it'd be like 70 degrees where I'm standing, and I'd take a step and it would be like 20 degrees cooler.
For Bill Hunley and his staff at the birdcage, there's no question that the place is full of the supernatural.
We definitely have ghosts in there, if that's what you want to call them. I lock up at night, I come in the morning, the lights are on, the music's playing, my office is unlocked. They play, they have fun. They're happy the building's still functioning and it's still standing and we're looking after it.
By the late 1880s, the silver mines had closed due to underground flooding. The once thriving Tombstone became a ghost town. Pioneers packed up their bags and headed on west to California. Just south of San Francisco is one of California's hippest beach resorts, Santa Cruz. Amusement parks, shopping, swimming, surfing, there's plenty to keep most visitors happy. What many don't know is that Santa Cruz has a darker side, deep in the redwood forests of the Santa Cruz Mountains. Nestled among the trees is the historic Brookdale Lodge. Built over a beautiful creek, it's a hotel like no other, in ways that are both charming and haunting. It's said that Brookdale is a magnet for humans and spirits alike. Self-proclaimed psychics have reported as many as 49 resident ghosts.
There's articles constantly being written about this place, and different journalists come out here and psychics, and everyone has the same story. Everyone feels the same things. Everybody's stories match, so it just sparks a lot of attention.
The lodge first opened in 1870 as headquarters for the Grover Lumber Mill. 20 years later, it was transformed into a hotel. The star attraction is the Brook Room, an enormous dining hall built directly over a stream. For decades, the lodge was known for its parties and party-goers. In the 40s and 50s, the Brookdale was filled with celebrities, politicians, and gangsters. When Jennifer Soto's family bought the lodge in 1990, they knew they were purchasing more than just a historic hotel. Rumors of ghosts had filtered out of Brookdale for years. Rumors Jennifer now believes to be true. Buried deep among the redwoods of the Santa Cruz Mountains, Brookdale Lodge has a reputation that might scare some guests away. It's said to be haunted. When Jennifer Soto's family bought the lodge in 1990, she was unconvinced.
All the stories I pretty much laughed at, and then when I started experiencing things for myself, then I started thinking, oh, maybe there is something here.
Lloyd Auerbach researches paranormal activity and has been investigating ghosts at the Brookdale for years. He uses an electromagnetic field meter, EMF for short. Lloyd believes there are two distinct phenomena at the lodge: apparitions and a haunting.
An apparition is a ghost, a spirit, somebody who's hung around after they've died. They can communicate, there's interaction. It seems that sometimes they do know they're dead very often. They just have an association or an attachment to the location or to the people of the location, or they're afraid to move on.
The apparition seen most often at the Brookdale is thought to be the ghost of a small child called Sarah, a previous owner's niece who died at the lodge.
The little girl apparently fell down into the brook somewhere in this general area in the 1940s.
Now, this bridge actually is one of the spots that people have reported feeling or sensing something, and this spot right over here is a spot that a lot of times psychics will stop and pause at and say it's a very energetic spot, almost as if it's an entryway for some energy to come through. It may be the focal point of the residual haunting over here.
Jennifer Soto remembers her first experience with Sarah. She heard a child whimpering in the Mermaid Room, a bar with a window that looks into the hotel swimming pool.
Everybody said, oh, that's Sarah. It's no big deal. I said, oh, I heard a noise. A little girl was in the Mermaid Room crying, and they said, oh, no, that wasn't anybody. That was just the ghost of Sarah. It's just normal to everybody. So it's frightened me, but now I understand it's not anything bad.
People have also seen Sarah in the ballroom.
This is one of the hot spots right here where she's been seen by people, pretty much twirling, dancing around. It seems to be a spot that the little girl has kind of grasped onto. People have reported seeing her twirling around in the ballroom as if she's dancing by herself. So this seems to be a focus for little girl Sarah, as well as a focal point for the energy, so to speak.
When she's not crying or dancing, Sarah's spirit is playful. It's said she likes to arrange the silverware on the dining room tables in her own ghostly way.
When you set the tables, you'll come in and you will remember that you set that table last night, but the fork will be gone. Or, or something will be on the floor. It's just things get kind of messed around.
Sarah isn't the only spirit at Brookdale. People have reported hearing music, laughing, a party in progress, but not a live human being in sight.
I heard dishes clanking and conversation and the old-time big band music, and I thought, well, somebody's broken in and someone's having a party in there. So I walked inside and I heard the music, and right when I opened up the doors, everything just came to a halt.
Lloyd Auerbach says these parties are classic hauntings in which the memory of an earlier time is recorded in the environment and replayed over and over and over.
Well, in this case with the Brook Room, when they open the door, it's as if they're disrupting the recording, the playback. So they've stopped interacting. It seems like it has to be closed for the playback to actually happen. Opening the door just cuts it off right away.
But not everyone can see and hear the ghostly activity.
A ghost is only mind. A ghost has no matter. So for a ghost to interact at all with any of us, especially on a physical level, it is purely mind over matter. It's purely psychokinesis. So when people actually see ghosts, they're seeing the ghost with their mind's eye. They're not actually seeing the ghost with their eyes. That's why not everybody can see the ghost at any given moment.
The spirits of Brookdale have kept visitors enthralled for years. 350 kilometers to the east, cradled in the Sierra Nevada, lies Lake Tahoe. its waters so cold that perfectly preserved cowboys who drowned a century ago have been recovered from its depths. Here, the Cal Neva Resort straddles the border between California to the west and Nevada to the east. The casino is naturally on the Nevada side, where gambling is permitted. As the oldest functioning casino in America, Cal Neva has attracted gangsters, film stars and presidents for decades, and was a playground for America's Rat Pack while briefly owned by Frank Sinatra. Marilyn Monroe has sipped champagne and rolled the dice at Cal Neva's crap tables. Their time is past, but guests can still catch a glimpse of these idols, either in framed photographs on the walls, or according to some, as eerie apparitions wandering the halls.
I love history, and I believe that if you study history, if you delve in history, or even if you visit historical sites and places, eventually you're going to run into a ghost story, a spirit, or something connected with history.
Built in 1926 by wealthy San Francisco businessman Robert Sherman, Cal Neva was initially his private guest lodge and a haven for illegal gambling. In 1931, it became one of the first licensed casinos in the US. Many class acts came to sing for their supper in the Celebrity Lounge. Louis Armstrong, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, the biggest names in the business.
The people that have entertained in that room in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and up to Sinatra's time, it's a who's who in entertainment today. And this is where it all started. This is gaming, this is the history of Nevada, it's all here.
In 1960, the leader of the Rat Pack bought the hotel and raised it to a new level of celebrity.
In order to be able to have some privacy too, he had a tunnel built from the cabin 1 underground that would come into the building and then come all the way over to the showroom when he had the showroom built.
Marilyn Monroe had her own cabin, and the Kennedys were frequent guests.
A week before she died, she took an overdose here. She was here with Robert Kennedy at that time, and he had to be choppered out of here.
Sinatra built the celebrity showroom with a helicopter pad on top. A secret tunnel allowed private access for big-name guests and mobster cronies. From the underground passage, Marilyn Monroe could enter her cabin through the closet. It's said that Jack Kennedy used this entrance to rendezvous with his celebrity sweetheart.
This was the place to come for the summer. And if you're anybody out of Hollywood, when Sinatra came here, that's when he introduced Lake Tahoe in this area to Hollywood and the whole Hollywood scene.
In 1963, Sinatra lost his gambling license, thanks to hotel visits by his mobster friend Sam Giancana. By the 1980s, the resort had fallen into disrepair. That's when the current owner, Charles Bluth, bought the lodge and brought it back from the dead.
It had been closed for over 3 years. Pretty spooky when you walked in, everything was chained off. What had happened is the gaming authorities had closed the facility down.
When it reopened in 1986, strange things started happening. A security officer reported a woman crying in the hallway, then she simply vanished. But not before he got a good look at her curvaceous figure. She was the spitting image of Marilyn Monroe.
There's always kind of stories floating around, but I guess if you don't believe in them, then you wouldn't be susceptible to them.
Jennifer Page remains unfazed by long-gone celebrities and their ghostly images. But she's had a few encounters of her own, including running into old Blue Eyes in the celebrity showroom.
I was walking through and my jacket moved off my shoulder. And I just said, "Hi, Frank," and kept walking. And just walked through the rest of the showroom.
Another time, Jennifer was waiting for the service lift when she saw a strange man from the past.
I kind of looked down the hallway and turned my head like that, and the first image in my mind was a man in a zoot suit standing right by the corner. And I was like, okay, that didn't just happen. So I pushed the elevator button, it turned red, so the elevator was coming. And the same thing, I looked down the hallway and kind of looked away, and the exact same vision, I guess, or picture was in my mind. And then I got in the elevator and went downstairs.
Was it a figment of Jennifer's imagination? Michelle Hardison and Janice Oberding are ghost hunters searching for the answer. They've come to Calneva to collect hard evidence of ghostly activity at the resort. Michelle uses an EMF to measure the changes in electromagnetic energy commonly found where ghosts have been seen. Janice hopes to capture some ghostly images on a digital camera.
Let me see if I'm getting any readings over here by the fireplace. I'm getting some activity right around in here.
They begin their investigation in the Indian Room. It sits directly on the California-Nevada border. The fireplace is the hotspot for electromagnetic readings here.
Isn't that where you got the high reading before over here?
Yeah, right in that area there. This area, a little bit of activity.
Not a great deal.
But I really feel that by the fireplace is where we're getting a lot of strong readings, and it's bouncing a lot.
On to Marilyn Monroe's cabin. For $350, anyone can spend the night. It's here that she attempted suicide just 1 week before she died in her Hollywood home.
Not only is the view spectacular, but can you imagine all the emotions that she was going through when she was staying here and the people that she was meeting with?
Inside the cabin, Michelle and Janice are overwhelmed by a powerful sensation.
Very oppressive.
Yeah. Like it takes your breath away almost.
Yes,
yeah, a
yes.
real heavy feeling. And yeah, look at this. I mean, I'm getting some really good readings in here, and they're staying pretty solid.
Here, this closet.
In the wardrobe, the needle spikes again.
Oh my gosh.
As they approach the hidden entrance to the secret passage, Michelle and Janice feel it suddenly turn cold.
Oh
Are you
yeah,
getting
we're
any-
getting some great readings in here.
Can you feel it almost a drop in?
I felt it again too.
From the cabin, they head down to the tunnel. Some say the ghost of Frank Sinatra still wanders this passageway.
I get almost like a rushy feeling, like a running
Yes.
down the hall, running.
Maybe in a
back and
hurry.
forth,
Maybe
in a hurry.
Frank was in a hurry to get to the casino
Yeah.
floor.
The EMF meter indicates the ghosts are near. Perhaps it's Marilyn again. It could be. She walked down this hallway just days before she died.
Well, certainly she probably would have left a secret way. What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely imagine so.
For Janice and Michelle, it's been an exciting investigation. They're sure they've captured some ghostly images and orbs on camera.
An orb is believed to be a spirit. It's a round, usually we'll pick it up, a round ball of light. And many investigators believe it is actually a spirit.
For them, the proof is overwhelming. The Calneva is a highly haunted hotel.
I think you have a mixture. I think we have a blend of spirits here. Some that are dazed and confused, some that are happy to be here, and some that just come back to visit, like a vacation to them. It's a hiding place. It's a secret place. It's where people feel safe, especially main celebrities such as Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedys and Sinatra. It was a haven for them. They're reliving their memories.
Are these famous stars trapped between this world and the afterlife? Or perhaps they found a place of rest in the Calneva resort. Not every visitor is guaranteed a sighting, but the luxury hotel can still take them back in time to roll the dice, sip champagne, and imagine themselves partying with the Rat Pack. Another of California's oldest buildings has made its way onto the National Ghost Tour. Whaley House in Old Town San Diego. According to ghost researcher Martin Wolf, this tourist destination is full of brazen spirits who are fearless when it comes to meeting their guests.
They're very curious, they want to know you, they want to know what's going on. They will become involved with you as an individual. Anybody that comes to the Whaley House need to be sincere because the ghosts are here, and when you enter into this house at night, you're entering into their time and their domain.
Built by millionaire Thomas Whaley in 1856, Whaley House is the oldest brick building in Southern California. Home to the Whaley family for nearly 100 years, it's also served as a general store, a theater, and the county courthouse. Over the years, the Whaleys experienced their share of tragedy. One son died of scarlet fever at only 18 months old. A daughter, Violet, committed suicide after suffering a humiliating divorce. In despair, she shot herself through the heart.
She left the papers and she took the handgun. A shot rang out and Thomas Whaley rushed out to find Violet slumped over and looking down saw the barrel of a small caliber gun sinking into the ooze.
It's said that a violent death is one reason why a person's spirit remains, which would account for all the ghosts in Whaley House.
The theme, if you will, to tie in most hauntings is an untimely death. Sometimes violent, murders, suicides, children cut off in the blossom of youth, unfinished business, revenge, or just an attachment.
The United States Department of Commerce has designated 30 sites across the country as officially haunted. The Whaley House is one of them.
The Whaley House is one of the most active houses that I've ever been in my life. The ghosts that are in this house, they lived here, they died here. This is their possession, their place, their space, and they're very particular and very protective of it.
Martin Wolf is a paranormal researcher and authorized ghost hunter for the Whaley House. He's taken thousands of photos of alleged ghosts there, irrefutable proof, he claims, that this is the Whaley family's eternal haunting place.
A ghost can be in many forms or guises. They can be as full, colored, shaped as you are. They can be black, gray, clear, like an ethereal haunt. They can be as milky white as Casper, or they can just be energy spikes or orbs.
Martin claims he's identified several spirits in the mansion. The Whaley parents, their children, even the family dog. It's said that the music room and bedroom are Mrs. Whaley's favourite haunts. And Mr. Whaley has been reported throughout the house, dressed in a frock coat and top hat. Meanwhile, their divorced and suicidal daughter, Violet, has been seen wandering aimlessly in the garden and on the balcony.
This house is unique because they loved it and they refused to leave it. I can't tell you why they are here. All we can do is when we do the pictures and the documentation, when we take the old photos and we apply them to the ghosts that we photograph, we can go, my goodness, this is Mrs. Whaley.
As hard as it is to absolutely prove the presence of ghosts, one fact that is certain is that the spirits of Whaley House are good for business. Groups of visitors come to the house daily in the hope of seeing, smelling, and hearing the ghosts. What some of them find comes as a big surprise. Whaley House, a Victorian mansion in Old Town, San Diego, is said to be home to so many ghosts, it's listed on the National Register of Officially Haunted Sites.
Sometimes visitors to the Whaley House can smell Thomas Whaley's favorite Cuban tobacco. Sometimes it's Anna Whaley's favorite lavender perfume. Sometimes we can hear the cries of a young child. Thomas Whaley Jr. died in the second floor bedroom, scarlet fever. Sometimes the rocking chair in that room gently rocks back and forth, as if Mrs. Whaley was comforting her ailing son.
Thomas Whaley apparently believed his house was haunted when he built it back in 1856. The land he had purchased for $302 included the old public hanging grounds. An archway inside the house is said to be the site of the old gallows.
Shortly after Thomas Whaley built his house, he heard footsteps on the second floor. He wrote in his journal, those were the footsteps of Yankee Jim Robinson.
In 1952, petty criminal Yankee Jim was hanged for stealing a boat. It took 45 minutes for him to slowly strangle to death. On his tours, ghost researcher Martin Wolf often takes visitors to one of Thomas Whaley's favorite ghostly hangouts.
Now, you don't see him there, do you? Nope. But I tell you what, I can feel him there. He absolutely gives me the heebie-jeebies and the creeps. The nice thing about Mr. Whaley is I'm used to him and he's used to me.
Martin shows the crowd a previous photo he took from the same spot.
Well, this is the ghost that's there, and he's not there right now, but we took this earlier this evening when we had the paranormal group here. But there he is. You can see his clothes, his face, his eyes.
The group seems unimpressed, till someone picks up the same image.
Now, I just took a picture in there with the group, and I didn't get anything. He wasn't there. I turned around and I left, and all of a sudden you have a picture of him. I think that's excellent. Let me really look at that. You got to keep her.
Where you were at?
And that's a really clear picture.
You can see him real good, yeah.
That was a very clear, that's a very powerful image.
It looks like somebody's standing there. It looks like their arms are folded in front of them. You can see his face, and you can see his eyes and his nose.
And this is really unique because anybody here can have this experience. The house is open to you. Just call the office, arrange for a private shooting, and I'll be glad to take you into the dark, into the night, and into the matrix of haunting. You know, ability we have.
After hours, when all the tours are gone, Martin and fellow ghost hunter Diane Melvin set out with a digital camera, an infrared thermometer, and an electromagnetic field meter. Martin routinely captures unusual images at the Whaley House. He feels he has a gift for connecting with the spirit world.
The reason I'm involved in hauntings is because I was born this way. I see ghosts because I do. More importantly, I think they see me. I figure I'm a bright light in a dark night. I just have that kind of spirit where they're accessible to me.
Tonight, they're looking for spirits in the upstairs nursery. Recently, it's been a hotspot for sightings. They take several pictures of what they believe to be ghosts.
Ah, excellent, look at that. There we go. There's a little spud right there for you. All right.
Then, they capture something entirely different.
Got an orb, look at that. There we go.
Mysterious orbs and phantom faces. Visitors to Whaley House should never forget their camera. They just might capture some strange and unusual images for their album. So for all the brave believers out there, take a trip after dark to America's most haunted places. For you never know who or what you might meet.